just for the YouTube guys, right? So if you want to actually be more involved in this, get in the school or get into school platform and you'll be able to talk. You can ask questions and get some dialogue in, if you will. So my name's Matt Pollard. If you don't know me, now you know. I am an herbalist. I come from all walks of life, from all over the world. I have learned many different medicinal systems and modalities, healing modalities. I hate to talk about myself, but I have to in order to explain things. So, and who I am. But other than that, this is the first, so it's Herb Talk number 11, but this is the autoimmune series number 1. So, super excited to get started on the autoimmune series. Y'all, if you are joining now, I hope I've got my phone. So, for those of you on YouTube, if you're watching this, if you get into the school platform, you will be able to get into a raffle or a giveaway, right? So let me reset my raffle here. I forgot to do it after last month. So every time you join Herb Talk into the school platform, you get entered into the raffle. So you have one entry toward every week, right? We do it every week. So every time you enter into the Herb Talk on the school platform, you get an entry and you have a chance to win a supplement, an herb, whatever we're giving away. And it has to do with what we are talking about that particular month. So for the next 39 weeks, we are talking all about autoimmune disease and how to go into remission. And so every month we will be giving away something that has to do with autoimmune disease or something that has to do with or some sort of supplement or some sort of herb to help the immune system, right? To regulate the immune system. One of them, so when we get enough people in here, I want to give away a monthly subscription for a couple of months for like a blood test so that you can see some really cool things that are going on in your body and stuff. So that'll be closer towards the end when we start to understand what that sort of stuff means. So it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll go ahead and dive in here. So like I said before, if you're on the YouTube live portion of this, jump into school if you want to enter some dialogue afterwards, because I will not be paying attention to the YouTube part of it. So this course is a comprehensive, deep integrated 9-month journey, right, through autoimmune disease. We're combining cutting edge science with God-given natural healing, right? That's the important part. Each week builds upon the last, weaving together the science of autoimmunity, genetics and epigenetics, therapeutic herbs, diet protocols, and nervous system regulation and movement. It all works together, right? We have to use all of it as a strategy to truly heal. You can't just take a pill and expect everything to be better, right? It's not how it works at all. So hopefully throughout these 39 weeks, you will not just, leave with some more information in your brain, but actually be empowered to heal yourself, right? I can't do anything for anybody except for hand in the information. You are required and responsible for your own health, right? If you don't do it, it won't work, right? If you do not do it, it won't work. And it's consistency. Consistency is probably the greatest healing modality out there. Consistency, discipline, those sort of character traits are that are developed, those sort of skills that are developed are more important than anything else that you could ever possibly do. So autoimmune disease occurs when the immune system loses the ability to distinguish self from non-self and begins attacking healthy tissues. This is not a flaw in God's design. It is a system that has been overwhelmed, right? Confused and triggered by modern stressors, right? This is the only time I will ever use the word trigger is with an actual trigger or a gun trigger, right? We're not talking about emotional triggers here, right? The immune system has two primary branches, and I just sent out probably about 15 minutes ago. I posted with a picture, and I'm not sure if you guys can get off of this to look at that, in any way, shape, or form. But you can look at that later if you want to, if you can't do it right now. But I posted a picture. It's a visual of the immune system and the two branches of the immune system and how they work. So you can look at that and follow along here, or you can just listen and observe. But so it has two branches: the innate immune system and the adaptive immune system. The innate immune system is the body's first line of defense. It responds quickly and non-specifically to threats, right? Cells like macrophages and neutrophils will attack anything that appears foreign or damaged. This system is not require exposure, right? It reacts immediately to foreign invaders, right? The adaptive immune system, though, is slower but far more precise, right? It learns from exposure and builds memory. This is where antibodies come in, right? It's specificity. The adaptive immune system is responsible for recognizing particular pathogens and mounting a targeted response against them. So within the adaptive immune system, this is where we're going to focus on. Within the adaptive immune system, T cells and B cells play a central role, right? T cells have several functions. Some T cells directly destroy infected or abnormal cells. Others help to regulate immune system response by signaling the immune cells, right? So they're regulators. They also call them Tregs, right, for the regulating T cells, which are critical for maintaining balance. They help prevent the immune system from attacking the body's own tissues. This is why we're leaning that direction, right? B cells are responsible for producing antibodies, right? When a B cell encounters a target, it differentiates into a plasma cell and begins producing antibodies specific for that target, right? So that's why it's slower, and that's why normally it requires two exposures. So you can eat something, you can come in contact with something, and nothing happens. All the while, your body is building an antibody to it, right? So that's the idea behind vaccines, right? Is to expose your body to it so that that first initial exposure, your body creates an antibody to it, so that later on it's on top of it and can fight it, right? That's the idea behind vaccines. Whether it works or not, it's a whole other story, and a whole other series and herb talks, which we later down the road, years from now, we might get to. But antibodies and proteins that bind to specific antigens, they act as markers, tagging cells or substances for destruction. Right. Once something is tagged, other immune cells recognize it and eliminate it more efficiently. Under normal conditions, and that's a big statement, under normal conditions, the immune system is able to distinguish between self and non-self. This ability is called immune tolerance, right? Immune tolerance is what prevents the immune system from attacking the body's own tissues. It is maintained through several mechanisms, including the elimination of self-reactive immune cells during development and the action of regulatory T cells that suppress inappropriate immune responses, right? When immune tolerance breaks down, the immune system begins to misidentify the body's own tissues as threats. This leads to production of antibodies and the activation of immune cells against self tissues. So this process is what defines autoimmune disease, right? The breakdown of immune tolerance is what basically defines autoimmune disease, right? And there's several major factors that contribute to the breakdown of immune tolerance. And we've gone over a whole month of one of the major factors that I believe is causing this to happen. And the reason is because you'll hear a lot of these contributing factors, and you'll start to understand that parasites almost hit every single one of those contributing factors at some point, right? So that's why I believe it's one of the major contributing factors to autoimmune disease, triggering autoimmune disease, because remember, it has to have a trigger. Otherwise, it never develops. So damage to the gut lining, like what parasites will do, right? Damage to the gut lining can allow partially digested proteins and microbial components to enter the bloodstream, increasing immune activation. You've got a bunch of foreign things running through your blood, environmental toxins. It can alter immune signaling and increase inflammatory responses. Chronic infections, including viral, bacterial, and parasitic infections, can cause or continuously stimulate immune system and create confusion through mechanisms like molecular mimicry. Foreign proteins resemble or when foreign proteins when they resemble human tissues, right? So molecular mimicry, I don't know if you remember, but we talked about how parasites can actually do that. They'll produce molecules like the immune system, and like molecular, it'll basically mimic your immune system's molecules to destabilize an area or to stabilize an area where the immune system won't attack it, right? So pretty intelligent little beings, I would say, and that doesn't happen by accident. So chronic psychological stress also plays a significant role. Elevated cortisol and sustained activation of stress response can dysregulate the immune system and reduce the function of regulatory T cells. This is super important. Stress on your nervous system is so important to understand. Overstressing yourself. And I was just talking to, I don't remember who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody about this, about your gut basically being a second brain, and that it can function outside of your actual central nervous system, right? So it can function by itself. It doesn't need your brain. And it's connected by your vagus nerve, right? And your vagus nerve, the stimulation of your vagus nerve determines whether you're in parasympathetic or sympathetic nervous system. And so when your gut is not right and it's not producing different neurotransmitters and different things and signals, then your vagus nerve isn't stimulated correctly. I don't know if you guys can hear that rooster right outside the dang. For whatever reason, he likes to sit right outside and just go crazy. Anyways, he's super loud in my ear. So, but when that is stimulated, or not stimulated, it'll send you into sympathetic into your sympathetic nervous system, right? So you'll be in fight or flight mode, which things chemically happen totally different when you're in that sort of mode, right? Your heart rate increases, your anxiety increases, your hyper awareness increases, your thought process is heightened, so quickened, right? Your But when you're in a calm environment, you don't need that, and it becomes overstimulating, right? Overstimulating. Everybody's heard that word nowadays. Um, so this is, chronic stress is extremely important. We'll get to all of that down the road, but I did want to emphasize the importance of that, right? And we'll get into the vagus nerve and all that stuff later as well. I'm already jumping way ahead. So, but diet is another major contributing factor, right? So highly processed foods, refined sugars, inflammatory fats can promote systemic inflammation and alter gut microbiome balance. So further stressing the immune system. It is important to understand the difference between inflammation, though, and autoimmunity. So they are different. Inflammation is a normal and necessary process, right? It is the body's way of responding to injury, infection, or stress. So acute inflammation helps eliminate threats and initiate healing, right? It sends the immune system to that area quickly and efficiently, right? Autoimmunity, however, is not simply inflammation. It is misdirected immune response, right? So the immune system is activated, but instead of targeting a pathogen, it targets the body's own tissues. All right. This leads to chronic inflammation, tissue damage, and dysfunction. In other words, inflammation is a tool of the immune system, while autoimmunity is a loss of proper targeting. Okay. The rise of autoimmune disease is over the past several decades is significant. Rates have increased dramatically, right? Far beyond what can be explained by genetics alone, right? This is why we know that the rapid increase in autoimmune conditions is more environmental and lifestyle factors that's driving it rather than genetic factors, right? So modern diets are more processed and less nutrient dense. Exposure to environmental toxins has increased dramatically. In 1985, over 75,000. No, sorry, 1975, 1985. Yeah, 1985. Um, Tens of thousands of chemo. I think it's like, I can't remember the number. It's ridiculous. It's way up there. The I thought it was 75,000, but I'm questioning myself now. Should have wrote it down. But the thousands and thousands of new chemicals were introduced into the environment in 1985, I believe it was, and from 1985 on, we've had so many harmful, carcinogenic, um, so many endocrine disruptors, so many hormone mimickers like BPA and plastics, and all the different things in cosmetics for women. I mean, there's so much out there that contributes to just a fully toxic body. I tell people all the time that when the time that you rise up in the morning to getting ready and putting on taking a shower, getting dressed, and eating, you've experienced 15,000 different chemicals. right? It's astronomical, right? From the hundreds of chemicals that are in your water to the hundreds of chemicals and formaldehydes and off gassing of your flooring and your walls and your paint and your um, the fabrics, the synthetic fabrics that have been bleached and washed and detergents and um, just everything, your bed, your sheets, your pillow, not just that, not just the chemicals, but the bugs, the mites that live in your bed and feed on your skin and all. There's so much, right, that goes into all of this. And then if you have a pet, it's increased even more with, parasitic introductions and everything else. So it's important to understand these things. And everybody, ever talk to, people that don't want to hear this sort of stuff? They say, well, everything causes cancer, so we might as well just not worry about it. I'm like, no, everything, yeah, that's the problem. Everything causes cancer. So you should do better, right? Like, you should try to do better so that you have a better chance of, and I'd say chance, but it's really not a chance. If you do better, you will increase your quality of life and your longevity of life for I mean, for many, many years. So and that's been proven. It's not just genetics, y'all. But all these factors contribute uh, to increased immune activation, right, and reduced immune regulation. So as a result, the immune system is more frequently stimulated, right, less precisely regulated, and more prone to errors in identifying what is self and what is not. You got to imagine um, how confused your body must be with all of the toxic overload that you're giving it, and no help. And no help. A lot of times it's like, your body's got to be thinking like, what are you doing to me, man? Like, you're just like slowly trying to end me. And so it's pretty wild though. So make sure I got everybody in here. There we go. All right. So we're going to switch over to herb. So some of the herbs today. So some of these herbs you're going to hear more than once, right, during this series, right? So and the reason is because we're going to talk specifically about the herbs' abilities according to what we're talking about, right? So we're not going to go over all the different things that the herbs do. We're going to go its specific action on what we're talking about today. So turmeric, for instance, is one of the most well-studied anti-inflammatory herbs out there. Everybody's heard of it. Its primary active compound is curcumin. It has a strong effect on inflammatory pathways in the body. And one of its main mechanisms is the inhibition of NFB, right? It's like NFXB, but it's a it's a transcription factor, right? So it controls the expression of many inflammatory cytokines. Because of this, NFXB is often referred to as a master switch of inflammation, right? So NFXB, when it's overactive or overactivated, um, the body produces high levels of inflammatory signaling molecules, right? Such as TNF alpha, IL-1, and IL-6. These are commonly elevated in the immune system in autoimmune conditions. So it will contribute to tissue damage and chronic inflammation, right? So by down regulating that with turmeric, down regulating NFXB, uh, the down regulating its activity, it helps to reduce the inflammatory cascade at foundational levels. One of the issues is that a lot of the inflammatory fats that we take increase that inflammatory response, right? So turmeric is really good at bringing it down. Um, Turmeric also has amazing antioxidant properties, helping to neutralize free radicals, to reduce oxidative stress, which further contributes to inflammation and immune system dysregulation. In addition, it may support joint health, muscle recovery, and overall tissue protection, right? So it's a good one to have often, right? I like to prepare it in golden milk. That's my favorite preparation. During the winter, I do it often because I like it, drink it hot. It's really good cold too, so I'll take it and shake it up, mix it up with a little bit of honey and milk, and that combination of uh, of golden milk. It's like pepper, and it's got some different spices in it. When you get a turmeric supplement, you always want it to be combined with black pepper. So curcumin on its own is poorly absorbed, right? But pepperine and black pepper, the active compound in black pepper, significantly increases its bioavailability. Um, and you want to take it with fats, right? So any meal that's got fats with it, you want to take it with that so that it absorbs better into your system. The compound is very, very oil dependent, right? So it is, I forget the word right now, but it's basically it dissolves in oil. It does not dissolve in water. It's not necessarily hydrophobic, but yeah, it does not. Curcumin does not like to dissolve in water. Um, so a good whole milk is important because otherwise it'll have trouble dissolving into the milk, right? Because you won't have the fat in it. So, but you can take it supplemental forms. It's really easy to take it. I like to take it with boswellic acid, but we're getting ahead. Um, Range of 500 to 1,000 milligrams per day is typical with standardized extracts. The standardized extracts are usually like 95% curcuminoid. So, I mean, it's good stuff, really good stuff. And people downplay it all the time, but if you get a really good source of it, it can tremendously help. And if you take it consistently for any period of time, it's really awesome. Another really awesome herb that we're going to talk a little bit about today is called cat's claw. So we will go back to turmeric and its other actions, right? In later weeks, right? I think we'll go over it like 4 different times, and its different actions. So cat's claw is a really good one I've been using for years. Rather than simply suppressing inflammation, it acts like an immune modulator, right? Very similar like medicinal mushrooms. This means it helps to regulate the balance in the immune system function, right? So rather than pushing it just one direction. So one of its key roles is supporting regulatory T cells, which is really important. The Tregs, right? These cells are essential for maintaining immune tolerance and preventing the immune system from attacking the body's own tissues. So, in many autoimmune conditions, Treg function is reduced or impaired, which contributes to the loss of immune control. That's why it's important. Cat's claw contains compounds such as oxindole, alkaloids. Sorry, I wanted to say that right. The influence that influence immune signal pathways. So it has been shown to help reduce excessive inflammatory responses while also supporting appropriate immune conditions where the immune system is both overactive and dysregulated. So, in addition to its immune modulating effects, cat's claw may also support gut health and reduce oxidative stress, both of which are important factors in autoimmune disease progression. It's commonly used as a tea, tincture, or a capsule. So I take things in all sorts of ways. I'll take some capsules in the morning and at night when it's easy to take them. I will carry this to work with me. and sip on tea all day. It's a half gallon. You're drinking a half gallon of tea that you prepared yourself every day. You're in really great condition. Um, we've got, different things like juicing. I don't know why it's in this fancy bottle, but it's what my wife gave me. She likes fancy things. But this is anti-plague juice. I've been having throat sinus deal going on, so just to help keep that down, simmer it down, that's anti-plague juice. So we do, things in all sorts of ways, right? All sorts of different methods and ways to heal yourself. But consistency is key, right? Doing it, in every aspect of your life, not just take a pill, right? So this is a lifestyle change. That's what we're going for here with this whole series. It is important to focus on curbing your lifestyle towards the better, one step at a time, right? That's why the series is long too, because we want to help people one step at a time work their way into remission and beyond, right? So, it's generally introduced at lower doses, right, and can be adjusted based on response, right, especially individuals with active autoimmune conditions. You just got to kind of monitor where you're at with that. So, a gut healing protocol is also what's first on the table, right? So, gut is extremely important, right? A gut healing protocol focuses on restoring the integrity of the intestinal lining and reducing inflammation, rebalancing the gut microbiome. The goal is to lower immune activation that begins in the gut and contributes to systemic inflammation and autoimmunity, right? So this could have been where it all started. So hopefully that's important enough to know to where if you get your gut right, then you can really start to truly heal. One of the central issues addressed in a gut healing protocol is increased intestinal permeability, often referred to as leaky gut, right? When the gut lining is compromised, partially digested food particles, toxins, microbial components can pass into the bloodstream, right? So this triggers an immune response and increases the likelihood of immune confusion and chronic inflammation. Bone broth is commonly used as a foundational food in gut repair. It contains amino acids such as glycine, proline, and glutamine, which support and repair the maintenance of the intestinal lining. It also provides collagen and gelatin, which helps strengthen the structural integrity of the gut wall. Regular intake of bone broth can support tissue repair and reduce inflammation in the digestive tract. Remember, regular intake, consistency. It's not a one-time deal. It's, have a glass of bone broth or make a soup every other day, especially if you're really on a gut healing protocol. It's every day, right? So I tell people in my gut course that I put together to replace one meal with a bone broth meal, right? A really good soup made with bone broth, or just drinking a bunch of bone broth, right? And then you're going to replace one of your meals with that. Next is fermented foods, right? Fermented foods. Now, this is important to understand, and we'll get into it here in a second. But fermented foods are introduced to help restore beneficial bacteria in the gut. All right, so foods like sauerkraut, kefir, yogurt contain microorganisms that support microbial diversity and improve digestion. A balanced microbiome plays a key role in regulating immune function, producing certain vitamins, and maintaining the gut barrier. However, in individuals with histamine intolerance or active inflammation, fermented foods may need to be introduced slowly or temporarily avoided. Right? High histamine. Histamine is an immune system signaler. So it is important to understand that fermented foods, anything aged is a breakdown of the proteins. It breaks down into histamine, right? So histamine will keep your immune system active, very active. Now, in autoimmune disease, one of the key factors is in a damaged gut. I just had a spider just come right up on me. That was crazy. I don't know if y'all saw that. They like right here. All right. There you go, Dad. um, he doesn't like spiders.
I'm good. You can keep it.
Yeah. So where was I? What was a good distraction there? But so it's important to know that in autoimmune disease, high histamine diets are bad, right? It signals the immune system, keeps it on overload. And because you normally with a good gut, you're producing something called DAO, diamine oxide, I believe, diamine oxidase. It is an enzyme that breaks down histamine in the gut, right? So a normal functioning gut will do that. Most people with autoimmune disease do not have a normal functioning gut. So if you are the type of person that, and this is something you have to look at for on an individual basis. First of all, I would just eliminate fermented foods. I would eliminate anything high histamine, right? And that's actually a part of the app, the Autoimmune Ally app that we will. I'm actually going to post today on the school account so that everybody can see that, right? So it's part of that is a low histamine reduction diet, right? So we reduced a diet to get off of immune signaling responses. So it's critical for autoimmune disease to get your gut right first, and then slowly introduce these foods back in, and even then have a supplement called DAO where you can take it with those foods as you start to reintroduce it back in, so that it eases the transition of back into fermented foods, back into aged foods. You don't have to have aged foods at all the time, right? But focus on fresh foods and stuff. But fermented foods are critical for optimal health later on, right? So you just want to make sure that when you introduce those back in, you do it with a strategy, not just, oh, let's just, cram in the sauerkraut every day, right? So another critical component is removal of gut irritants, right? These foods and substances can damage the gut lining or trigger inflammation. Common irritants include processed foods, refined sugars, industrial seed oils, alcohol, and food additives, right? For some individuals, gluten and certain lectin-containing foods may also contribute to gut irritation and immune activation. Lectin is one of those that's in pretty much every grain, but when you cook it, it usually breaks down. But there are high heat lectins in like tomatoes and the eggplants, the nightshade family. There's some others out there too that have heat resistant lectins in it that can irritate the gut, right? I know there's like all these things you can't do, right? there's a whole world of food out there, guys. So it's not like, it's just we've taken everything that was once good and turned it into something bad. And so that's just what we like to focus on now, which is just crazy to me. But the combination of removing irritants, repairing the gut lining with nutrient-dense foods like bone broth, and restoring microbial balance with appropriate probiotics, fermented foods, creates the foundation for improved gut health. Right? As the gut barrier strengthens and inflammation decreases, the immune system activation often becomes more regulated, which is a key step in addressing autoimmune conditions. Starts with the gut. The enteric nervous system is a complex network of neurons embedded within the lining of the gastrointestinal tract, right? This is the second brain we're talking about. It's referred to as the second brain because it can function independently of the central nervous system. It has the ability to control digestion completely on its own, right? So this system continues, or sorry, this system contains hundreds of millions of neurons, so comparable in number to those found in the spinal cord. So these neurons regulate essential digestive processes, including motility, enzyme secretion, blood flow, and communication with immune cells in the gut. The enteric nervous system is closely connected to the brain through the vagus nerve. That's what I was talking about before. This connection allows for a constant two-way communication between the gut and the brain. Signals from the brain can influence digestion, and signals from the gut can influence mood, cognition, and overall nervous system tone. Pretty wild. What you put into your body often becomes your thoughts. There's an old Upanishad out there that says the subtle energies of your mind become your food. It's very, very true. We're starting to scientifically realize that now. Everything's got to be scientifically proven now. It's crazy to me. Anyways, so a significant portion of neurotransmitters, including serotonin, are produced in the gut. This highlights the gut's role not only in digestion, but in emotional and neurological regulation. Depression, anxiety, those things start in the gut. When you get your gut right, normally depression completely goes away. Don't tell that to your therapist. They will fire you right on the spot. The enteric nervous system also plays a direct role in immune function. The majority of the body's immune cells are located in the gut, right? So associated with lymph tissue. The enteric nervous system helps regulate how the immune system responds to what is present in the digestive tract, including food, bacteria, and potential pathogens. When the enteric nervous system is functioning properly, it helps maintain balance in digestion and immune signaling. However, chronic stress, poor diet, infection, and inflammation can disrupt this system completely. You're starting to see the pattern here of all the disrupting factors, what stress, diet, all these things disrupts your gut, disrupts the signaling, disrupts everything, right? So if every portion of your body is disrupted, of course you're going to have crazy dysfunction in your body, right? So this disruption can alter gut motility, increase intestinal permeability, and contribute to immune system dysregulation. Because of this connection, dysfunction in gut can influence the brain, and dysfunction in the brain can influence the gut. This is why conditions involving chronic stress, anxiety, or trauma often have digestive symptoms, right? Or vice versa. And why gut health is so closely tied to immune-related conditions, including autoimmunity. So supporting the enteric nervous system involves addressing both sides of this connection, improving gut health through diet, microbial balance, and regulating the nervous system through practices that reduce chronic stress and promote parasympathetic activity. So, have you ever been told gut health affects your autoimmune condition or just affects any condition like that at all? Have any of you ever been told about the connection of the gut before to all of that? I'll let you respond.
I
Are
can
we
say
supposed
that.
to answer?
What's that?
Go ahead, Jennifer.
I was going to say, I can say that nobody has said anything about that while treating Leah for her Graves' disease.
Yeah.
Well, Brian's chiropractor was actually more concerned with his gut health for his spine. And that
Yeah.
was quite a few years back. So I was like, you're crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's crazy to me that we don't see that connection, but we're not taught these things. We're taught that everything is completely separate. Everything is, should be treated separately by a specialist. Every part of a doctor's office or hospital has a specialist in every corner, and nobody knows what the other one is doing. And often there's a lot of malpractice because nobody knows what the other one's doing. And so um, it's crazy to me that we have all these specialists, but we have no wholeness. Nobody knows what's really going on with the whole body. But it's what we're taught from the very beginning. So unless you read the Bible, then you're taught something different, usually. But making that connection is difficult. So, any more questions? We got 6 people on here today.
I don't really have a question, but I just want to say if our 14-year-old can make a difference in her diet and be as strict as she is, even when pushed with temptation, because she's around children all the time and adults that are drinking soda and eating candy, and she has the best willpower of anybody I know. I think that we can make changes as adults in our life, because I'm just really inspired by how hard she works towards doing the right things to get in good
And
health.
and that the app has made it a lot easier for her, hasn't it?
Yes, the app has helped her tremendously. If she doesn't know, she looks and she will ask questions, and it's been it's been helpful for her.
So I'm producing 2 other apps. So as well. So I'm hoping within the next month or so, I'll have these apps on the store. So I'm working with Apple right now to there's something wrong with the Apple ID stuff, and so I'm trying to get that figured out. But Apple is really difficult to get it on there. I should probably go ahead and get it on the Android part, because Android you can just throw anything on there. They don't question it. But if I get it all worked out for Apple, I know it'll work really well on Android. So I want to first do it there, and then put whatever version works best into the Android. But so I'm developing 2 others. So one of them is a autoimmune disease app that is basically specifically for this course, right? So it lines up with this course on 9 months, and goes through step by step. You literally click whatever autoimmune disease you have, and it will take you on a 5-phase journey, right? So you'll go through and you'll take the herbs, follow the diet, all that kind of stuff. So I'm working on that one. That one's a little bit more difficult to do. The app that's already produced is one that has just all of the different low histamine foods, and I've talked a little bit about it. But so you'll have to come up with your out of the foods and stuff with what you want to eat and all that stuff like that. It's not as directed as the one that I'm creating. But then I'm creating an app called the Bible Diet. And the Bible diet is solely based on the Bible, fresh foods, fresh herbs, all those different things. But then, we'll also get into different ways of taking the herbs, different things they do. So it'll basically be in movement, movement for health, not necessarily for becoming a bodybuilder, but movement for health, right? So very simple movement strategies and stuff. So, so the Bible diet will will be for everybody, right? So, and for autoimmune people that have gone into remission, right? So this is what you'll transfer over to. So that way you can keep track, and it's just a way to help people stay on track, because everybody's, you know, having to develop the skills and the information. I mean, I've been doing this for 16 years now. And so not everybody has focused the time, energy, effort, and money that I have. And it's a lot, you know. And so this basically is a culmination of the last 16 years of my life of you know, doing health and working with different people and stuff. And so that I'm putting into an app. So it makes it really easy. You got all the information there right at your fingertips. So I'm hoping to also release that one during this course as well. But I'm first going to get this first one out there, and then the second one will be the autoimmune track. It'll, you know, go along with this course, so that anybody can go back and go to this course, and then, you know, maybe I'll even maybe I should put the videos in there as well. I should probably do that now that I'm thinking about it. Put the videos of the course in there with the tracker. So that might be a good idea. See, I'm already coming up with new things I got to do for it. So that one's going to be a really good one. It's because people like plans, right? They like plans to be able to follow and stuff and make it easier. But the Bible diet one's going to be really cool. It's going to be for everybody. I believe that the Bible has the information that we need. It's somebody, or a lot of people, you know, say the Bible stands for, it's an acronym. It stands for basic instructions before leaving Earth, right? So if we follow, you know, that, well, I assume that our life will be much better. So a lot of the Bible is focused on fresh, prepared foods, long fermented breads with ancient grains, not with the hybridized, genetically modified, crazy wheat and stuff that we use today,
What?
which is that.
Sorry.
You're
I'm
good.
about to start making sourdough bread and I'm looking for a good flour to use.
Yeah, acorn, the ancient. Just look up ancient grains, um, like if I go to Google right now and look up ancient grains, it'll pop up a bunch of them. But the one of the most I'm looking right here, ancient grains. Okay, well maybe I guess now there's people that have businesses called Ancient Grains. So never mind, don't do that. So Inkhorn, EINKORN is the ancient wheat, basically. That's one of the best ones, right? The gluten is not just outrageous in it. The protein structure isn't changed. It's the original grain. You can get the organic wheat berries of it, right? The inkhorn berries. And you can get a 25-pound bag for 50, 60 bucks of just
For,
wheat grains, and then mill it yourself.
yeah, there's for 80 ounces is 36 on Amazon. The organic one.
Yeah, it's not horrible.
No.
And you can get a lot of flour out of that, right? And you want to mill it yourself, right?
Oh, I don't have a miller.
Yeah, that's something to invest in. Now you can get freshly milled stuff. There are companies out there that freshly mill it and stuff, but freshness. It's all about freshness, right? It's preserved extremely well in the seed format. Once you mill it, it starts to break down. Now, getting back to just uh, even just getting back to that particular grain and getting it milled and getting it organic or whatnot is fine. Like that's a lot better than getting an enriched bleach flour, right? Because they take the bran out of it. They take all the good stuff out of it and leave basically the sugar. They bleach it and then they enrich it with poison, right? With their folic acid, synthetic vitamins and stuff into it that are completely horrible for you. And it's in everything, right? Wheat is in everything. And then it's got glyphosate sprayed all over it right before harvest. So, it's beautiful. It's a perfect concoction for, killing yourself. It's nuts. And so, and people wonder why we're developing, really bad celiac and stuff like that, right? So, but yeah, just for those who are wondering, I put it in the chat, the inkhorn. But yeah, that a mill is something I've been looking at lately. I don't have one either, a stone grind mill. They're a couple $100, but if you get the mill and you get the big old bag of the inkhorn berries, there's other grains too that you can mill, and then you use that over time. It easily pays for itself rather than going and buying flour or anything else. And it pays for itself in your health as well. And you want to do long fermented, right? So, because it breaks down different peptides and stuff that are also immune reactive, right? So as you're, getting into a more of a maintenance kind of schedule for your diet and everything, and you're reintroducing these sort of things, yeah, definitely do it the right way. Long fermented over 12 hours, right? Don't fall for that stuff where you're throwing the yeast in it and cooking it right away. That long fermentation process is important for breaking down some of the things that you don't necessarily want.
So if you're doing that, milling your own whatnot like that, does that make it gluten free?
No, doesn't make it gluten free. It makes it less. There's less gluten. There's less, and just by getting that particular grain, there's way less gluten in it. So
What would you use then if you needed to be totally gluten free?
I can answer this. Listen, your bread will just be more crumbly. Like I mill my own wheat, and the only thing I've noticed is that obviously it takes longer to do the kneading because there's less gluten. However, it's just more crumbly. Still good.
Yeah, but what if you need totally 100% gluten free? I mean, if you're totally allergic to it.
Well, do you eat tomatoes?
It's not for me. It's for my daughter.
A lot
yeah,
of things that you don't think would have gluten in them, like tomatoes, have them in there naturally. So it's really hard to really find a gluten free. You can have gluten less.
yeah, gluten. Well, I mean, it's not too difficult, but yeah, it is. It is. There's a lot of foods that have gluten, but
I mean, would you
Sourdough, it's
you could
easier to
do
digest.
instead
what's
of
that?
doing wheat and milling your own, could you not do like almond flour or a substitute?
Mhm. Yeah, there's certified gluten-free stuff out there. There's all sorts of different flours that you can use. Amaranth, almond,
It just
coconut.
won't have those fancy, stretchy bread that you like. It's going to be a little bit more dense because of the less gluten, but it's still good.
Yeah, and as you said with tomatoes, I'm not even planting tomato plants this year because I'm trying to actually get them more away from them because of the lectins in them because
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
do cause gut health issues.
yeah,
I've been
they
reading
have.
a lot
So
on
they
them.
have the tomatoes are one of the ones that have the high heat resistant lectins. So even if you cook them, it stays in there.
Yeah, they have the bad lectins, and I found out that is actually one of the things that causes kidney stones in me is the
Mhm.
tomatoes.
Yeah, tomato. So we have put tomatoes in every type of food that we enjoy, and they are not good. They are part of the nightshade family, right? They are poison. Like they're not good, and we put it in everything.
They taste good, especially fresh.
It's so great.
You know, when you grow them yourself instead of getting them out of the grocery store, they do taste good. But I'm trying to just lean less on them and do more of the other things that are more healthier, due to the fact that since I had the cancer last year, I'm just kind of changing my eating habits.
But everything the devil tempts us with is pleasurable and tastes great. So we have to be careful with it tastes great. For sure. But yeah, there's tons of gluten-free options out there. So, and this is how you stay safe with it, right? So because there are a lot of manufacturers that they manufacture all at the same facilities. So you have something that's wheat that goes through the same machine, and then you have something that is almond that goes through the same machine. So it has trace amounts of gluten in there, right? So I was I'm trying to think. There's a person I was talking to, and they have celiacs, hardcore celiacs. Like if they come in contact with any trace amount, they're full throttle autoimmune condition, right? So um, so understanding that that any trace amounts can activate that immune condition. So if you are milling it yourself, you have the manufacturing facility, right? So normally the berries, if you're getting, I don't know, oats, for instance, or almonds or whatever, they're not normally processed or dried in the same factory as the wheat, right? They're normally dried, and if they're an efficient company, and I would call and make sure, find a good company. There's plenty of them out there. But make sure they're not done in the same facility. But you control part of that manufacturing process, right? So you can make sure that nothing else is going through your mill. And so it's much safer that way anyways.
I get that. That means that it'd be a lot healthier if you're doing it yourself. And even if it's less trace, because it's healthier and better of a process, then it may not upset your stomach as much.
Yeah. Yeah. And people are like, well, it takes time and effort and work. And well, yeah, we used to have a whole culture around producing food, right? And it was part of our daily activity was actually preparing food. And it was a lot of times it was a family ordeal. And so we should probably turn a little bit, at least a little bit, back towards that, right? We become so obsessed with convenience and stuff, but I think that producing these things are fun. And so in getting people around you involved in it, I think is a lot of fun as well. Yeah, it may take, an extra 30 minutes to do something, or it may take a little bit of extra thought to prep it for the next day, but it's so much better for you in the long run. And your gut will be happy, your immune system will be happy, your neurological system will be happy, but also your bank account will be happy if you prep these things properly. And your hospital bills will reduce tremendously. So it's a huge benefit. I like to say that I don't like health insurance, I like health assurance. So it's a completely different model that we're running off of.
Elaine, you said you make your own bread. Do you enjoy doing that?
Yes, mentally. It hurts my hands. It's a lot of kneading.
Yeah.
I'm like halfway here. I have my hands in way right now. I'm trying to make cheese.
Oh, nice. Yep. See, she's making cheese.
I wanted to do something nice for Easter and Give the kids some homemade mozzarella.
Oh, cool.
I'll tell you what I did. I tried to save money yesterday and I was like, I'm not going to buy gloves. That was a mistake. I didn't need to save that money. It is hot.
Yeah.
And you know, the home milled wheat, when you get the wheat berries, you can really taste um the I guess the berry. It's not as bland as you would buy normally, or you don't have to put a whole bunch of extra things because it's going to have a really great natural taste anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not as bland for sure.
Yeah, I saw something on that. I've been doing a lot of research and stuff, and I also seen that oats are not good for you. Like they say they are. That oats are actually just a filler. They're not really good in health benefits.
So grains in particular were meant for like supplying a lot of food to workers and the peasants, and potatoes too, right? So a lot of the starches and everything. But when you start to look at like indigenous cultures and what they feed on, and you start to recognize that, some of these things can be good. It's just if it's not like the only thing you eat, right? Um, and in the way that you prepare it, right? So, like oats will increase your blood sugar pretty quickly, but normally it's when it's combined with sugar, combined with other things that will increase it as well. Um, but uh, if it's done like in an instant format, right? So that instant format breaks down the fiber and the protein structures and stuff to where it heats up and it becomes soft really quickly. And so those starches are readily available, and then it will be uptaken into your bloodstream or processed a lot quicker and spike your blood sugar. So you have to kind of look at how it's being processed, how it's being prepared, and all that stuff. Preparation is key for any food. It really is.
So basically, eating in moderation.
Yeah. Well, so if you look at seasonal eating, so that's where the Bible diet comes in as well. If you start to prepare things more seasonally, there's a reason that it is in the season, right? There's a reason that grains are ripened towards the end of fall, right, or towards the end of summer. It's because they're meant to be lasted through the winter. There's a reason why squash is ready to harvest in October, right? Well, it depends on where you're at, but um, and I guess when you plant it. But there's a reason why it lasts through the winter. There's a reason why for all of those things, right? So it's important to understand that, and you can go outside of those bounds, but it's like when you're eating a whole bunch of watermelon in winter. First of all, you're trying to figure out where it came from, right? Um, why was it shipped from South America? Um, and why, like, the energy expenditure just to get a watermelon here in winter is just nuts. But then you have to figure out uh, what's happening when I'm eating all this sugar, right, in the middle of winter. And you just have to look at it and weigh it out and see if it's even worth doing. But eating seasonally is extremely important. You want to be really, really hydrated in the summer. Eat watermelon, right? It's one of the best foods in the summertime.
So fatten up for the winter to for the cold weather, and
Well,
then
yeah, fats. Yeah,
summer veggies for the summer weather. Summer weather, is that what it is?
yeah, fats are really great for slow burning calories, right? When you're out working a lot in the summertime, you need a little bit more glucose in your blood when you're doing high cardio stuff. The wintertime when you're huddled up, slow burning fats, right? I mean, and slow burning fats are always great to have, but that way you have a constant steady energy. But when you're doing cardio, you have to have more glucose readily available because you'll drop all that glucose out of your blood super quick. That's why like marathon runners and stuff, they have those little glucose packets that they carry, put in their mouth, because they'll drop all of that blood sugar. I have other methods of slowly, introducing glucose into my blood for long runs and long. So we've got a 20-mile hike coming up in not next week, but the week after. And so like doing chia seeds is really awesome because it'll slowly hydrate you the whole time, but also release good nutrients and stuff into your system and glucose.
So on that day, that's on a Saturday. That's 2 weeks from today. Are you not going to
Yeah.
have?
So yeah, that's one thing I was going to talk about. Forgot about. I'm going to try to do it while we're on the hike. So if it doesn't work, we will get back to it. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure it out. So I'll announce it probably next week. What I figure out. I'm going to try to do it as we're hiking. So it'll be really interesting. The only problem with doing it when we're hiking at Oak Mountain out there, I'm not sure of signal. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'll figure out another time to do it and get it out there. But or we'll just push it off a week or whatnot. But I don't want to push it off a week because we got a lot to go through. So I'll figure it out. I'll figure out what we're gonna do with that. So, and I'll let y'all know. And we might do it like the Friday night before or something. That way I can actually do it with a good quality. So just look for that update. All right, well, we're past an hour, y'all. So I'm gonna log off of here, and thanks so much for showing up. So if you didn't yet get to go look at that visual, go ahead and look at that visual. For those of you on YouTube, join on Skool so you can get in the dialogue. And if you haven't seen the YouTube channel, you can go along into the YouTube channel, vice versa. So in that app, I will be posting the link to the app. So you can go into Skool, you'll be able to go into classrooms, and you'll see Autoimmune Ally in one of the classrooms. Everybody will have access to it, and I will put the link in there. You'll just be able to click it and go to it. It's $9 a month. So for those who have autoimmune issues and stuff and that want to use it for going into remission, I have to pay like $200 a month for it just to have it. So I figured $9 a month was fair. So if I get 20 people on it, I'll actually somewhat break even. So so if you do have autoimmune disease and you want to follow that plan, it's a really good. It's $9 a month, so it's not bad, but it really does help. So I will put that in there for everyone to see. So, and then the Bible diet as well. When that is finished, I will get it together as well. So, all right, y'all. I will talk to you soon. Peace.
Bye.